Oh, relinquish temporal power. Yep, I see what you mean now. Okay. Is this an either or then? No. How many have these? Okay. Would love to see you play as the Pope. I have done a game as the Papal States. 1936 Stanley Cup. The two teams made it to the Stanley Cup finals, the Detroit Red Wings and the Toronto Maple Leafs. The winner of the game would be the 1936 NHL champions and will receive the Stanley Cup. How long to the Revolution? Don't know. It's not going to be that far off. Toronto Maple Leafs win the 1936 Stanley Cup. Toronto has beat Detroit in a 4-game series of the Stanley Cup, bringing the Maple Leafs their 4th victory in the finals. The Red Wings have yet to win the Stanley Cup and are determined to play hard next season to finally win it. Lose political power. Special election in New Jersey. Following Senator A. Harry Moore's resignation in order to run for governor, a small special election has been called in New Jersey to select his replacement. The front-runners are Democrat John Gerald Milton and the AFP spokesman Charles Lindbergh. Polls have just closed and the winner appears to be... AFP loses political power, gains political power. I'm going to say that Charles Lindbergh wins. Make things a little harder. Seeing as I've already been kind of de-toothing the USA. Defanging, declawing. Cuban tariffs. Though the Platt Amendment, which governed Cuban-American trade and relations, was annulled and its successor requires only minor trade concessions on part of the Cubans, a delegation has arrived from Cuba to petition for the abrogation of one portion of the current treaty. As part of the new treaty of Cuban-American relations, Cuba is required to levy substantial tariffs against non-American products. This, the Cubans argue, has caused great economic harm and contributed to the recent near collapse of its government. To prevent another incident such as that which recently befell their nation, they say they must concede our position on this issue. Respect it, or it's the only way. What would the CSA do? CSA would be against free trade. Respect the treaty. Senators break ranks. After weeks of negotiations, a number of establishment senators have broken ranks over the coming vote on the Wagner bill. Most notably, Robert Wagner, one of the bill's proposers, who says he will not vote for the bill unless protections for federal unemployment insurance are re-added. Many other Democrat and Republican senators are concerned at the influence of the FP and the SPA, and claim they will not vote for a bill if it has any concessions made to either group. Though others say that not courting either the FP or the SPA make the passage difficult, if not impossible. President Hoover will need to intervene in the bill in order to save the bill. Force the establishment to compromise with the SPA. Okay. New technologies. Jolly good. We don't have 36 fighters yet, do we? No, we want them. Are there any 33 ships we don't have? No. Field hospitals then. Compromise with the SPA. Recent days have resulted in a compromise between the many establishment senators and the Socialist Party of America, with numerous extra provisions included for worker protections and unemployment relief, though nowhere near as far as the SPA originally demanded. Even so, Jack Reed has declared this a victory and is riding high in the recent polls. Both Huey Long's AFP and a large number of Democratic senators have declared this a betrayal of the American public, however, and have vowed to sink the Wagner bill when the vote comes. SPA greatly gains political power. Popularity of syndicalism and social liberalism goes up. So the next one I'm going to have to be pro AUS, I think. Dr. Alphabets, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the channel. More AFP members announcing congressional bids. While there have been a number of lawmakers in the America First Party in his brief life, particularly in the South, the 1936 election represents an unprecedented number of people registering to run for office under the banner of the AFP, and just as many, if not more nationwide, pledging to vote for them. Authoritarian Dem, paternal autocracy, national populism gains, and AFP gains political power. Interesting. The May Day riots. May Day, International Workers' Day. This is the holiday that the Socialist Party celebrates with numerous parades and speeches and has since its founding. Generally, things are peaceful, though there have been confrontations with the police. However, this time they are more violent than normal. Clashes between the Socialists and the local police, backed by the AFP, have occurred around the country. The question is, who's at fault? The Socialists declare that things were peaceful till the police and the AFP goons arrived on the scene. The AFP is saying that the Socialists began by assaulting ununionized workers, and blurry photos they claim are guns the SPA were brandishing. Police, obviously. Panama pressures Costa Rica. The Panamans have begun a small-scale military assault on the Coto region of Costa Rica, which they have had a claim on for some time. We should threaten intervention to prevent this turning into a full-scale war. We will threaten. Nominating Quentin Roosevelt. Since the nomination of the Senator Olson as the presidential candidate, the politically minded have discussed with great interest the likely vice presidential candidate. Finally putting the rumours to rest, Quentin Roosevelt has announced that as the vice president for the coalition ticket yesterday in New York City. In this announcement, he emphasised wanting to help bring major reforms to the country through a plan called the Fair Deal. Though this plan was denounced by the SPA and the AFP as being nowhere near enough to help the average American, economists believe that it may be enough to end the Depression. Hooray, positive! It's fine, everything's getting better, no problem. I've solved all the problems. Coalition wins every time. Panama backs down. After hearing of American support for Costa Rica not willing to escalate the situation into a full-blown conflict, the forces of Panama have begun to back down across the region. This is a victory for American diplomacy abroad. Hey, Marshal. Crime spree sweeps the nation. As America spirals ever deeper into chaos, there's no chaos here, there has been a wave of crime throughout the country. Fake news. Many of those criminals are getting sensationalist news stories about their activities, especially gangsters like John Dillinger and the scandalous Bonnie and Clyde. Thankfully, the Bureau of Investigation has been working hard to catch these criminals and bring some order back to America. Of course, the FP and the SPA have begun attributing these crimes to moral decline and robber baronies, respectively. Lose stability. Yes, I still have Panama. May 1936. When is the election? November. The Wagner bill is about to finish. Arthur Horner elected chairman of the TUC. The Trade Union Congress in the Union of Britain was made out to be decisive. Long-time chairman of the TUC, Philip Snowden, declared his resignation, causing the four major factions of the Union, Maximist, Autonomist, Federationists and Congregationalists, to butt heads over the position. And we have reintroduced the bill. And now we need to wait to see if it passes or fails. It passes! Though the vote was incredibly close, the Wagner bill has passed Congress. People throughout the United States are celebrating this welcome relief to the country's disastrous economic situation, though many within the government are wondering, how will the bill now be paid for? Gain loads of political power, gain some stability, although we're still going to be in the negative, and the Great Depression gets a lot less depressing. See, I'm fixing everything. Okay, so now we can do the Orkin Plan, which increases social liberalism. Or we can demand repayment from Canada. We're going to enact the Orkin Plan. A junior Democratic senator has proposed a plan which would see the Garner-Wagner bill funded by an increased corporate income taxes. The plan is controversial with some, but it might just give the economy the boost it needs. Still got a lot of time before November. Especially with the mod time reduction. I spy with my little eye a cutoff. Russian Republic has declared war on Trans-Summer. War on 2 fronts, but what's Trans-Summer actually got? 9 divisions, 6 factories. But Russia is going to be fighting a war on 2 fronts now against the Soviets. This is probably good for the Soviets. Trans-Summer, not convinced. Yeah, that's CPM's mod. Special election in Washington. We'll get back to that. Following the death of Senator Wesley Lloyd, a special election has been called in Washington to fill his seat. The front runners are the SPA activist John F. McKay and Democratic Congressman John Main Coffey. Polls have just closed and the winner appears to be... I mean, I did say that I wasn't going to go pro-socialist for this. But I cannot, in good conscience, have someone called Coffey elected. Coffey never wins. Coffey always loses. Death of Big Bill Haywood. Today, one of the titans of the industrial workers of the world, William Big Bill Haywood, has passed away. His death marks the passing of a torch. Elizabeth Gurney Flynn spoke at the funeral, saying history has a long-range perspective. It ultimately passes stern judgment on tyrants and vindicates those who have fought, suffered, were imprisoned and died for human freedom, against political oppression and economic slavery. Many other leaders within the various union organisations, including his rivals in the AFL, also spoke at his funeral as well, as leaders of the Socialist Party of America. Jack Reed also spoke at the funeral, ending the speech with some of Haywood's quotes. If the workers are organised, all they have to do is put their hands in their pockets and they have got the capitalist class whipped. A strike is an incipient revolution. Many large revolutions have grown out of small strikes. Remember that you are fighting more than just your own fight. You're fighting for the entire working class and you must stand together. Instruction 1. Still 36. I feel like I'm getting an awful lot done here. It feels weird. Where's the chaos? If one man has $1 he didn't work for, some other man worked for $1 he didn't get. Coup d'etat in Siam. News emerged from Bangkok today that a group of officers in intelligentsia calling themselves the Khana Rastodon or the People's Party have successfully seized control of the government. So how far down to this do I want to go? Probably all the way. Am I going to get all of this done before November? It's basically a month each, so this is June, July, August, September, October. Maybe just... possibly? The Southern Democrats complain. Although the coalition is showing signs of success, there is already some dissent from various factions. The loudest voices belong to those of the Southern Democrats, many of whom are more conservative and are facing stiff competition from the America First candidates. The coalition has largely been dominated by Northern Democrats and Republicans, with the Progressives being third wing of the coalition. We should try and force a compromise by promising to appoint Southern Democrats to the cabinet and other positions of power if we win. Of course, we could also ignore their protest and focus on winning the election instead. Let them complain, because this is probably going to make the AFP stronger. The Great Heat Wave of 36. A heat wave has struck the continental United States and Canada, the most severe heat wave in the modern history of North America. The Great Heat Wave started in late June and went over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius, as drought conditions worsened due to a continued lack of rain. Now, in July, the heat has reached an all-time record. In Steele, North Dakota, temperatures have reached 121 Fahrenheit or 50 degrees Celsius. That's halfway to boiling. In Ohio, temperatures reached 110 Fahrenheit, 43 degrees Celsius, which was close to tying a record high set in 34. This comes in time for a major political unrest, with the America First Council a major force in the Midwest politics, and socialist and syndicalist forces gathering strength in the Great Lakes region. The drought is continuing, and over 3,000 reported deaths have been linked to it. Many people are suffering from heat stroke and heat exhaustion. Farmers across the continent saw their worst harvest on record, causing corn and wheat prices to skyrocket, and this heat wave does not seem to be giving up anytime soon. I know the CSA could sign a deal with the devil with the AUS in the Darkest Hour version. I think they still can in this. It's basically the two losing factions can do a deal with the devil against the winning faction. Usually it's the PSA AUS. USA is already dead by that point. But I think it can be anyone. I don't think it's just limited to those two. I think technically the AUS and the AUS and the CSA can do it. It's just rarer. A combined effort by the Commune of France and the Union of Britain a few days ago has birthed the International Avant-Garde, a program that aims to create a unified art style for art and the genre for music, as well as new literary techniques, each of them encouraged to be socialist, unorthodox, anti-traditionalist, and anti-religious. It's really curious. When I hit 500 convoys, which I feel like I'm going to do very, very soon, we'll switch to something else. Probably destroyers. Can never have too many destroyers. The Orkin Plan. Junior Democratic Senator Thomas Hawking has introduced a bill which will see the relief efforts largely funded by taxing American corporations in exchange for hefty tax considerations down the line, once the economy has recovered. This has caused considerable controversy in some corners, especially among the AFP and the SBA supporters. Others say it would be far too easy for the next government to reverse the decision, leaving the corporations holding the bag and even worse off than they were before. Regardless, there is enough support to see the bill passed, and, as an added bonus, the agency to coordinate the efforts will be placed in either Minneapolis or Charlotte, with the added bonus of new employment weakening what are AFP and SBA strongholds. We're going to put this one in Minneapolis. Red Summer. The summer heat has turned into violence and blood as cities, starting with Charleston, South Carolina, throughout the country engaged in bloody racial riots as whites beat up blacks and burned black businesses. The number of lynchings that occurred throughout the country spiked with the summer. In response, the African Blood Brotherhood and other elements of the SBA and CSA have been arming and fighting back. The Socialist Party of America have defended their actions and have furnished blurry photos they claim to show AFP members and lynch mobs. Can this year get any worse? Yes. The new Industrial Act. We need to kickstart heavy industry in America's heartland, where the Great Depression has hit the hardest. In fact, I didn't read the previous one, did I? Maybe I did. No, I don't think I did. A junior Democratic senator has proposed a plan which would see the Garner-Wagner bill funded by increased corporate income taxes. The plan is controversial to some, but it might just give the economy the boost it needs. Yeah, deal with the devil only happens when you're losing, precisely. It's the two losing nations against the winning one. Still making political power, despite the fact that we have really, really good stability. Like, our stability is so positive. I've never seen it so positive. We're completely strong and stable over here in America. The very definition of the word, strong and stable. Words. Disunity within the coalition. The Democratic and Republican parties have long been at odds since they came to national prominence. As we try to keep our coalition party together, a number of Democrats and Republicans have been getting into verbal shouting matches in Congress. While they are just minor members, the conflict could destabilise the whole coalition if it's allowed to spread. We can either come down hard on one side or try to force some kind of compromise by pressuring rebel rousers to keep still until after the election. Either way, it should end public dissent for now. We are going to force a compromise. Union Syndicalista achieves Italian majority. The 5th Congress of the Socialist Republic of Italy ended with the Union Syndicalista led by Palmiro Togliatti continuing its mandate by achieving a majority of seats in the government. Well done. More SPA members announcing congressional bids. While there have been a number of lawmakers from the Socialist Party of America in the last few decades, particularly the Steel Belt in 1936, the 1936 election represents an unprecedented number of people registering to run for office under the banner of the SPA, and just as many, if not more, nationwide pledging to vote for them. So the Socialist Party of America is the... Oh, it's the Radicals and the Syndicalists. All three of them are. Oh, I see. AFP is all three of those, National Unity Party is all four of those, and then Socialist Party is those three. Gotcha. Manuel Carles assumes full control of Argentina. When Manuel Carles executed a coup against the Argentinian state on Christmas 1935, the nation was torn apart in a vicious struggle for control over the presidency. LP and forces from the Argentinian Navy quickly took control of the capital. Right, I did say that I was going to finish building these convoys and then we would start building destroyers instead. If they had a model for them. They don't. Let's see if we have enough points for this. Nine points. We'll get one more thing. Yeah, that's radar or sonar. So that was sonar. Then either one more anti-sub or one rapid fire gun. Rapid fire guns on destroyers are pointless. I think I'm going to go with one more depth charge. Yeah, our torpedo attack is already pretty good. What's that cost? 120. Whereas new torpedoes would be 120. Or we could just build this. Like, this is a perfectly reasonable ship. And it does make it a fair bit cheaper. We'll just do this. And then this is going to be known as the... totally American ship. Seeing as I'm not actually going to be building these. This is 4 C plus A. We'll call them the Drewskis. Drewski class. And then we're going to build some. This unfortunately means the USA is actually going to have some fairly decent destroyers. And then maybe some submarines? Yeah, so we have sharks and in fact we have 3 different classes of submarine. How are they different? 2 torpedoes. Hydrophones. Really? Went with sonar. 3 torpedoes, level 1 engine. Level 1 engine, 3 torpedoes. Level 1 engine, 3 torpedoes. These are no different. Why are these different? They're identical. Every single one of them is identical. Well, I guess we're going to go with the Shark class, because they sound cool. Missouri class, pretty hefty. Nebraska class. I think that these are all identical. They haven't actually made ship designs for them. So we're going to go with the Nebraska class and a Missouri class. I'm going to say that you're more important than the submarines, but less important than the destroyers. I'll actually put you there. And now we are really short on resources. Okay, I'm not going to import chromium, there's no point. So we'll just do that. America has other problems it needs to deal with before it starts importing resources. And most of those are complete, so now I'm going to start... No, we're going to continue the infrastructure. Wait, Pennsylvania's not done. Lazy. Poland elects a new king. For almost 2 decades, the Polish throne has remained empty. After the end of the Weltkrieg, a regency council was convened to elect the new Polish king. However, constant interference and ineptitude has prevented the council from selecting a king for all of these years. But now, after many weeks of intense debate inside the chambers of the Polish Regency Council, the decision was finally made to elect a new monarch to the long-vacant Polish throne. Coronation of Karol Olbracht has been held in the Palace of Warsaw early in the morning. It's been followed by parades and celebrations throughout the nation. What does that mean for Poland? I don't know. I thought this was an either-or. In a massive rally in Sacramento, the leading members of the Republican, Democratic and Progressive Party, Senator Olson himself, came out to accept his nomination as the coalition's presidential candidate. This massive rally has been surprisingly well received by the press and those attending it. Hopefully it can translate into election results. We're still researching that new fighter, aren't we? Yes, we are.